Good evening, people. Chris Osberg here, Winding Road Magazine. This crazy car I've got in front of me right here is the all-new 2018 Lexus LC 500. LC, Lexus speak for luxury coupe. Check out the massively sculpted spindle grille that is absolutely Lexus's trademark signature look these days. There's one thing for certain, there's not much on the road that looks like this thing. I'll interject my opinion early in this review. I'm not the biggest fan of Lexus's crazy origami, anime, futuristic, wild design language these days. But you know what? On a car like this that really brings it out to the extreme and has the performance to back it up, I absolutely respect what they're doing and pushing the design envelope with this car, because you will get a lot of attention and there's nothing else on the road that looks like this. But the styling itself tends to be a bit polarizing. You're going to get a lot of people that maybe don't like the style of this car. Myself, you know, it's definitely unique. I give them credit for pushing the boundaries. It's up to you as a viewer. You get to decide, do you like the styling or not? Go ahead and comment below. I'd be curious to hear some people's opinion on the design of this car. But one thing is for certain, they've gone through and put a lot of interesting features in this car, and it really takes some time to get around the car and use it and realize all of the attention to detail that they've put into it, because there is quite a bit. So, very long, low sloping hood line, very raked windshield you see there, and just, you know, creases and lines just all over the place. The rear track is just wide. You can notice that the rear track is noticeably wider than the front of the car, and it has these really rounded hips back there. I'm gonna go ahead and pop on the ignition and see if I can give you a look into the taillights here. It's got this really cool 3D effect going on. All right, vehicle on, ignition on, lights on, and you see the door handles pop out. There we go. So taillights themselves, let's get right in there close. They have a really cool 3D effect going on there. I've never seen anything like that on a production car before. So being a grand touring car, you definitely expect a little bit of practicality, and there is some. Key fob doesn't work when the ignition's on. Imagine that. So once again, being a grand touring car, you definitely have popping open the trunk. Not sure what that's all about here. Probably an included car cover. Yep, included car cover. My colleague, Mr. Amos, looks like he may have lost a jacket. What do I see here? Eddie Bauer. Sure, that's nice, but size small. Nope, not gonna fit. All right, put it back. It's a rather small trunk. It's got a decent sized aperture here, but it's very low, and there's no pass-through up there, it looks like. So you're gonna have to pack lightly on trips with this thing. Styling aside, we've got some massive forged wheels here. Those look like really big fixed calipers on the braking system, large two-piece floating rotors, 6 pistons, big run flat tires. I believe this car has a 20-inch package, not the 21s, the optional 21s. Going ahead and looking here for the sizing. Yep, 275 40 20-inch. So big rolling stock, big wheels. It is a grand touring car. It has a lot of performance, but this car, Lexus shamelessly puts out there that is not about ultimate performance. It's not about lap times. It is out to give luxury to the driver and provide a very emotional experience, a very nice driving car, but it's not a super sports car. So, getting into the cockpit, I think this is where Lexus really shines these days. There's a lot of design going on in here. There's some great materials. There's Alcantara all over the place. The door handles are interestingly placed, interesting shape, very high quality. Paddle shifters are magnesium, real metal. Feel great to the touch. The switch gear is also metal. We've got these knurled rockers here, which absolutely feel great. There's a ton of attention to detail here, and it really makes the cabin an excellent place to be and a very comfortable place to be. And you can see the gauge cluster. Let me turn on the ignition here. See, oh yeah, 5-liter V8. We haven't talked about that yet. So 5-liter V8 in the front, under the hood, 371 horsepower, 398 pound-feet of torque. It's got a lot of power. It's a nice engine. I really do like the engine. We'll let you hear that in a little bit, but it has a very, very refined and very tuned sound. The induction noise in this engine is, frankly, it's pretty crazy. They've done a lot of tuning, and I'm not 100% sure it's all natural. I think it probably is. I don't think we have speakers playing in sound here. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they've just done their homework, as they did on the LFA, on tuning the induction noise in the exhaust to get it just right. I think they've done great. So what was I talking about? Yes, cockpit gauges. LFA inspired full LCD cluster is sweet. I like it a lot. I like it on every application they have it on. It's configurable. All the important stuff is right in the middle. It's even got this cool party trick where you press this button here and the whole kind of cluster thing slides left and right physically to readjust and realign the different displays. Completely unnecessary, completely over the top, but pretty damn cool. It's something typically you'd see like the Germans doing. But no, Lexus is doing some pretty daring things. So cockpit, I like the styling. It's kind of out there. Good material selection. The seats are comfortable. Nice, good support on those seats. Good bolstering. Ergonomics are pretty decent for some things, but then that brings us to the Lexus infotainment system, which I'm not a fan of. So that is their touchpad system, which has this little touchpad thing, which kind of springs you all over the place. It's way too sensitive. It's way too easy to bounce around, and it requires all too much concentration to use at a proficient level, meaning it's just a driver distraction. Lexus needs to get aboard the 21st century here, and they need to go back and redesign their interface, because I don't think that there's any band-aids that they can apply to this basic concept that's going to make this a leading infotainment system that people are going to enjoy, because it's frankly not that good. On the plus side, it's pretty quick. It doesn't seem to freeze up. It doesn't seem to be buggy. It's just distracting to use. And on a grand touring car, I think you need to place a little bit more importance on the touch points, the user interface, because you want a level of luxury and usability in this thing. So on the plus side, the rocker here, this knurled metal rocker, is pretty darn sweet. I like flying through the channels here in satellite radio. It's pretty convenient to use. Gear shift, unconventional. It's kind of like the Prius shifter, which I don't know why you'd want to bring that similarity in, but I'm not a huge fan of unconventional shifters. I see no performance or usability improvement in this style of shifter. It kind of looks cool with this little stubby thing there, but it is what it is. But what's underneath is impressive. So you have a 10-speed automatic transmission. That's Lexus's own design, I believe, and it is a torque converter based automatic. It's not a DSG. It's not, anything unique or unusual like that. It is just a very quick shifting 10-speed automatic. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and drive away. Minor complaint: turn signal does have a very, let's say, unrefined feel to it. It does not feel like it was tailor-made for a luxury car. System defaults to comfort or eco, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in sport. You're gonna hear some of that crazy V8 induction noise. Heck, let's go to manual. There we go. Accidentally shifted into neutral. It's very easy to do with this goofy shifter. All right, first gear. This engine absolutely snarls and barks, and it huffs and chuffs between shifts, and it's an emotional engine. They've done really a good job of it's a jewel, man. It's not the fastest thing in the world. So 471 horsepower is no slouch on paper, but for some reason it's a heavy car. So this new LC is riding on Lexus's new rear-wheel drive platform, which is going to be the future underpinnings for the LS big body sedan. And they do use a lot of engineering, materials engineering in this platform, meaning there's a substantial amount of aluminum. They even have some composites. We'll get into that a little bit. The door cards have some exposed carbon fiber, and this carbon fiber used in other places around the vehicle. But you're still left with a car that's, it's a two-door coupe that weighs like 30 to 40, 300 pounds. So it's not a light vehicle. So it's, the performance is good. It's adequate, I think, but it's not crazy. It's not quite as brutal as you'd expect in a 470 some horsepower vehicle. It's not, necessarily a bad thing, because like Lexus is, they're very clear. It's about the experience. It's not about the raw performance numbers. And I give them credit for going out and saying that, to be honest, because not everybody needs a track tool. So yes, we do have 10 gear ratios at our disposal, but interestingly, or let's say a little bit confusingly, I'm not quite sure why they're spaced the way they are. So the gear ratio seems pretty long, meaning, with 10 gears, kind of expect it to be short and quick, and having gears that are very performance oriented keeps the engine right in the sweet spot. It's not like that. The first couple gears are kind of similar to what you'd find in a 6, 7, 8-ish speed automatic, with a bunch of really tall gears at the end, which hardly come into play at all. So you're not left with this feeling that it's, a frantic, quick shifting system that's always keeping the engine in the optimum RPM band. And I think that's due to the really tall rear end axle ratio that they've put in this car. So really winding the gears out. You're not flying through them and shifting quickly like you'd expect with a 10-speed automatic transmission. But otherwise, when you're giving it enough time to think about what it's got to do, it shifts quite well and quite quick, I think, and smoothly as well. I think it does a really good job of offering great performance most of the time for a conventional torque converter automatic. Downshifts, on the other hand, are a mixed bag. Sometimes they're quick, sometimes they're not as quick. And this is actually a pre-production car. This is a prototype car. This is not a full production car, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes the downshifts can be a little bit goofy. Sometimes it can be clunky. Downshift denied because the ratios are just so far apart. There's many cars you can shift down to another gear at this point. You can see frequent intervention of the traction control, and I have to say it's a really nicely calibrated traction and stability control system. It's not very obtrusive. It comes in and out very smoothly, so you can definitely get this thing into traction situations, and it does a really good job of regulating the maximum amount of power you can put down. I have to say that this particular test car is not equipped with the optional Torsen limited slip rear differential, and I think it's only like $390. I would have to say, if you're buying one of these things, that would be mandatory. Every once in a while, if you're going to drive this thing hard coming out of corners, you can feel that inside rear tire spin up. If you can get a limited slip mechanical differential for only $400, I think you'd be silly not to jump on it. So pro tip, if you want an LC500, get that limited slip. So we have a number of performance customization modes for the car. So I'm going to go back out of manual into drive. So right now we're in sport. If I rocket her up this way, it's Sport Plus, and you can see that the cluster changes accordingly. One down is Sport, one down is, I guess, Eco, and Comfort. It's also, if you press it in, it's also a custom mode. So in the custom mode, I think there's like 3 things you can do. You can change the engine or the powertrain performance. You can change the chassis, which I assume is the damping, the shock absorbers, and you can change how the climate control responds to different requests. So economically, meaning it's not, cooling that much, or regular. But honestly, I don't feel massive difference in the chassis settings in terms of the performance modes. So I think I can feel a little bit more comfort in the Comfort or the Eco, and a little bit more stiffness in the damping in the sport modes. But it's not a dramatic difference. And to be honest, at this price point and at this technology level that Lexus is shooting for, they could go a little further in making the comfort mode really comfortable and making the sport mode really sporty. I think other cars in this class are going to give you a little bit more personality changes between the different modes. But with that said, I think the car is kind of more in the middle without that much adjustability, and the basic setting that it does have is pretty darn good. It's a pretty good balance between ride quality and performance and stiffness, because once again, it's meant to be a grand touring car, not an all-out performance track machine. And let's be honest, I think many people would be better served by this combination of vehicle anyway. Not everybody needs a track machine. Very few people actually bring their cars out on the track these days. I think a more all-around focused car with more drivability is probably more useful to more people anyway. So I applaud Lexus for going with that formula. All right, it's a little bit wet out, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 0 to 60 romp anyway. It's probably gonna be full of traction control intervention, but what the heck. It is a fun car to run through the gears, no question about that. The sound of this normally aspirated V8 5-liter quad cam is just glorious. Love that chuff between upshifts. Snarling downshifts. Very cool. You know, I love me a good manual transmission, but when you have a very quick shifting automatic paired to an inspirational engine, an emotional engine, it's a lot of fun too. Though I wish these 10 gear ratios were a little bit closer spaced. I think that would really improve the experience. Heads-up display coming out over the front. Hood there gives you some important information like your rev counter, your gear selection, your current speed limit. Climate control works very well. It's a system that you just want to stick it in auto and let it do its thing, and it does a really good job of cooling. And I guess I haven't tried heating because it's the middle of summer, but pretty impressed with the performance of the climate control system. Just left at 70. It's pretty comfortable. Audio system. This car is equipped with the Mark Levinson reference system. It's, I think, 13 speakers, 900 and some watts, and it's among the best. It is good. As long as you have a quality, clean input source, it gives you an excellent sound stage. It's pretty accurate. The bass is very tight, but still gives you good low-frequency extension. I've enjoyed listening to the audio system on this car, and if you're into audio, if you're a little bit of an audiophile yourself, the Lexus Mark Levinson systems consistently do quite well in terms of listening enjoyment. Brake performance, they feel pretty powerful, but the feel is not perfect on these brakes. Feel great when you're really on them, but modulation at lower efforts, especially at lower speeds, it can be a little bit grabby and non-linear, and not the most usable brakes in daily driving. Wouldn't go out so far and call them annoying, but definitely could have some improvement in that aspect. Steering is another minor complaint. It's on the lighter side of things, and it doesn't really firm up much when you switch the driving modes, if it's even firming up at all. I think the steering is a little bit light for a performance-oriented car with not much feel either. It tends to be on the numb side of things. But once again, you're dealing with a substantial car, and I think where the substantialness of this car does shine is how it handles rough roads and situations where the chassis is put to the test. It's a very rigid, very solid feeling chassis. There's no squeaks and rattles. The suspension feels great with brakes and bumps in the road, and you really feel like you're driving a car that's, you know, so cliche but just manufactured out of a solid billet of something extremely stiff. I love those pops in the downshifts. Could do that all day long. body control is pretty good. Once again, the suspension is a good balance between comfort and performance, knowing what the intended purpose of this car is. Body roll is minimal, but you definitely feel the heft of 4,300 pounds. It's not an agile car. And the steering doesn't go a long way to help with the confidence or the feel of driving sportily. It's more of a car that you can drive, you know, at 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, and it feels really good at those speeds. It feels very hunkered down. So the transmission generally shifts quickly and precisely. Every once in a while, multiple gear downshifts with 10 ratios, I can understand. It's not as quick as you'd expect. Most of the time it goes pretty nicely. But once again, oh, that's a nice automatic downshift. Once again, this is also a pre-production prototype car, so I would imagine there's some final software calibration changes that are probably going to improve things like that. And there's also, every once in a while, it gives a rough downshift or clunks into gear. It does something a little bit unexpected, which I will assume, or I will hope that they iron out before they get into selling these out to customers. Should give me that first gear downshift. All right, we're going to pull over right here and take a look at some of the details that I can't really look at while moving. So, as I mentioned, it's like a significant amount of composite construction in this car. You can see here these exposed door panels are actually carbon fiber. Got these really nice, kind of exotic fasteners here that go a long way to show the attention to detail that Lexus has gone through with this car. Let's go ahead and pop the hood. See what's going on with this 5-liter that I've come to be pretty fond of in other Lexus models. Nice burnout back there, which is not from me. Got a little bit of fake carbon fiber on the engine cover. That's okay. It's not really important there. You can see these castings here for the strut tower. I assume those are a lightweight aluminum material, but that goes to show you some of the lightweight construction details that have gone into this thing. And we've got this pipe kind of coming down. What's that all about this? So, I'm wondering if that has anything to do to that induction noise, which looks like is being piped into the cabin. That would be my guess. Which, you know, it's genuine noise. It's not fake noise via a speaker system or anything like that. So it kind of goes to show you the lengths that Lexus has gone to bring as much of that V8 sound to the cockpit as possible. toasty under there. There you can see the signature Lexus checkmark swoosh for their daytime running light arrangements. Just listen to that V8. Got kind of a cool rev limiter to it too. It's a nice free revving engine. Good job, Lexus. As I mentioned before, pre-production prototype vehicle. Pre-production prototype vehicle. Please be aware that this is a pre-production prototype and not a production vehicle. It is representative of what the final production will be. However, many fit, finish, and assembly quality details may not be up to production standards. So things like this, where this doesn't quite fit exactly right, or the transmission that clunks into gear every once in a while. Those are the kinds of stuff you see on cars that are not quite done yet. So I'm really not going to hold it up against Lexus. Got to give them a chance to finish the final product and get it out into production, get it to customers, and see what the feedback is at that point. One note, to turn off the stability control or traction control, you need to come to a complete stop, which is a little bit of an annoyance. So the question possibly on some people's mind, does the LC500 do a burnout? Yes, it does a hell of a burnout. Wow. Nice. 10 out of 10. So bottom line, what's up with the LC500? Well, in the luxury coupe segment, styling is a really huge part of a buyer's rationale in choosing a vehicle. It's a very emotional purchase. And if you happen to be a fan of the brand of styling that Lexus brings to the table, with the attention, cutting edge, you know, mechanical robot origami type styling, it may be a very compelling choice for you. You have a couple of really good things going for the Lexus. You have very distinctive styling, if that's what you like. You have Lexus quality and reliability. They're absolutely known for making rock solid, very reliable vehicles in the vast majority of cases. And it offers very distinct experience that has, you know, extreme attention to detail, whether it's the fact that it's produced in the same production line as the LFA, using a lot of the same handmade processes, the technology behind the materials and the carbon fiber, and just the unique cockpit, you know, design with the nice design elements, whether that's the interior interface, you know, the metal knobs and the really flashy and interesting shapes, or the custom LED 3D effect taillights. There's a lot of little things about the car that a certain buyer, I think this car is going to definitely appeal to. But it's definitely not a perfect car. So there's a few things for a GT car that definitely could detract you away from the Lexus. The brand itself, you know, Lexus is a strong brand, but it's not an Aston Martin. It's not a Maserati. You know, Bentley is more expensive, but you're also, you know, when you're getting up over $100,000, which you can when it's fully optioned out, you're starting to compete with a whole nother set of vehicles, which really carry a little bit more prestige than Lexus. The user interface on the infotainment is also, it leaves a lot to be desired. And there's a few minor issues with the car, which, once again, this is a pre-production prototype. Maybe some of those things will get fixed in the production car, whether it's the slightly chunky, clunky steering. You know, there's a few things that could be improved in the overall fit, finish, and polish. But honestly, I was pretty impressed with this car. I liked it more than I thought I would. When you're driving this car at cruising speeds, or even 6, 7, 8 tenths or so, it's a really rewarding car. And this engine is just a gem. You know, it's not the fastest thing, but it's very emotional, makes the right sounds, delivers a really nice linear power band, nice surge at redline, and most of the time when the transmission wants to cooperate, it provides a really enjoyable drive. And I think that this is a great effort by Lexus, and I'm hoping they find the right buyer to take this car, and I hope it proves to be a worthwhile venture for them. So that's my opinion on it. I like the car. Hope you guys enjoy it too. Let me know what you think below, and keep tuning in to Winding Road. This is Chris Osberg. We'll be coming back at you with more reviews, test drives, and keep subscribing, keep watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.